In 2009, what appeared to be an ordinary post surfaced on Reddit. A user announced that an older Reddit account, someone known in a few small communities across the platform, had passed away. If the story had ended there, it would have been little more than a forgotten farewell buried among millions of other posts. One user disappears. One account goes silent. A familiar name fades from a handful of forums and slowly vanishes from the collective memory of the internet. But sometimes the internet refuses to let things disappear so easily. After the post appeared, a few curious users began digging through the deceased user's history. They found old comments, recurring links, a strange image hosting website, and eventually something even stranger, hidden messages embedded inside the website's source code. These messages did not look like personal notes. They looked more like a secret bulletin board. Somewhere between dark humor, military jargon, cryptic messages, old internet forums, anonymous identities, and vague references to jobs that nobody could clearly define, investigators discovered the name of the website, Lake City Quiet Pills. At first glance, the name sounded bizarre. But to some people, it sounded much darker. Lake City immediately reminded many of the Lake City Army ammunition plant in Missouri, one of the largest ammunition manufacturers in the United States. And quiet pills. Some interpreted it as a grim slang term for bullets, something that permanently silences a person. Whether that interpretation was intended or not remains unknown. What started as a simple obituary was about to evolve into one of the most enduring mysteries in internet history. Tonight, we're diving into the story of Lake City Quiet Pills, a mystery involving Reddit, hidden messages, anonymous identities, military rumors, and questions that remain unanswered more than 15 years later. To understand why Lake City Quiet Pills became so famous, we need to return to Reddit during the late 2000s. Back then, Reddit felt very different from the platform people know today. It was smaller, rougher around the edges, and far less moderated. Countless niche communities existed, anonymity was common, and many users built entire online personas that nobody could verify. Within that environment existed a user named Religion of Peace, often shortened to Rap or simply Milo. Milo attracted attention because of his unusual online personality. He portrayed himself as an elderly man with military connections and extensive life experience. He frequently discussed politics, firearms, military topics, technology, and the kind of dark humor that was common on old internet forums. What made Milo particularly interesting was the contradiction at the center of his identity. On one hand, he claimed to be an elderly man, some believed he was nearly 80 years old. On the other hand, he displayed a remarkable understanding of web technology, online communities, and website management. Many people felt the two images didn't quite match. Of course, that alone proved nothing. On the internet, anyone can claim to be anyone. A teenager can pretend to be a retired veteran. A middle-aged office worker can spend years playing the role of an intelligence operative. Several people can even share a single account. The internet has always blurred the line between identity and performance. Milo frequently linked users to a website called LakeCityQuietPills.com. At first glance, it looked completely ordinary. It functioned as an image hosting service where users could upload pictures and share links. Before platforms like IMGR dominated image sharing, websites like this were common. Nothing about it seemed remarkable, except for the name. And eventually, people began paying attention. In July 2009, a Reddit account named 2-6 posted an announcement claiming that Milo had died. The post read like an online obituary. According to 2-6, Milo had passed away at the age of 79. He was described as stubborn, argumentative, eccentric, and a former military man with very few surviving family members. The author claimed to know Milo personally and suggested that he had helped manage parts of Milo's website. Normally, such a post would have received a few condolences before fading into obscurity. But something felt different this time. People began asking questions. Who exactly was 2-6? How did he know Milo? Could any of the information be verified? The deeper users looked, the stranger things became. Investigators soon discovered references to similar usernames on other websites and forums. Names like Angel26 appeared repeatedly. Certain usernames, email addresses, and writing styles seemed connected. None of it was definitive. Yet the similarities were enough to encourage further investigation. As users continued digging, attention shifted away from Milo's death and toward the website he had left behind. That is when the mystery truly began. Most internet users only see the visible side of a website. Behind every page, however, exists source code, the underlying structure that controls how the site functions. Inside that code, developers sometimes leave notes, comments, and hidden text. When curious users examined the source code of Lake City Quiet Pills, they discovered messages that appeared invisible to ordinary visitors. These messages were not technical notes. They looked more like communications intended for specific individuals. Some resembled job postings. Others appeared to reference travel schedules, qualifications, deadlines, or assignments. Many contained abbreviations and terminology that some readers interpreted as military jargon. The language was intentionally vague. Nothing explicitly mentioned violence. Nothing clearly identified an employer. Nothing provided enough context to determine what was actually being discussed. That ambiguity became the foundation of the mystery. If the messages were real, they suggested a hidden communication network operating in plain sight. If they were fake, they represented an incredibly elaborate performance. Either possibility was fascinating, and neither could be proven. One of the most debated aspects of the mystery is the name itself. The phrase Lake City appears to reference the Lake City Army Ammunition Plant, a real ammunition manufacturing facility in Missouri. The phrase Quiet Pills is less clear. Literally, it sounds like medication. Figuratively, some interpreted it as a euphemism for bullets. This interpretation became even more popular because of an old slogan associated with the website that referenced providing permanent rest to those who needed it. Was it dark military humor? A private joke? Or something more sinister? Nobody knows. What is certain is that the name helped fuel countless theories. The website's branding felt too deliberate to be accidental. Yet, it was also exactly the kind of edgy humor commonly found on old internet forums. The ambiguity made the mystery impossible to resolve. The most controversial chapter of the story involves the 2010 assassination of Mahmoud el-Mabhouh, a senior Hamas figure. On January 19, 2010, el-Mabhouh was found dead in a hotel room in Dubai. The case quickly became international news. Surveillance footage revealed a highly organized team moving through airports, hotels, and shopping centers, while changing appearances and coordinating their movements. Dubai authorities eventually released photographs and information about numerous suspects. The operation appeared extremely sophisticated. As details emerged, internet investigators noticed something unusual. Certain hidden messages allegedly found on Lake City Quiet Pills appeared to reference a gathering or party, involving dates and locations that some believed matched events surrounding Dubai. Almost immediately, speculation exploded. Could Lake City Quiet Pills have been involved? Was it a recruitment platform? A communication hub? A coordination point? There has never been any verified evidence connecting Lake City Quiet Pills to the assassination. No law enforcement agency has publicly established such a link. The theory survives largely because of timing, coincidence, and interpretation. To believers, the similarities seem impossible to ignore. To skeptics, they are exactly the kind of pattern-seeking behavior that often emerges when people investigate mysteries. And that distinction is important. Coincidence is not proof. It is merely a reason to ask questions. As the mystery spread, thousands of internet users joined the investigation. They archived websites. They recovered deleted pages. They traced domain registrations. They compared usernames. They analyzed source code. They built They searched for connections between dozens of seemingly unrelated clues. Some concluded that Lake City Quiet Pills had been a genuine network used by former military personnel, contractors, or mercenaries. Others believed Milo was a real veteran whose website had been repurposed for private communications. Still others argued that the entire thing was an elaborate role-playing exercise. Perhaps Milo never existed as described. Perhaps multiple accounts belonged to the same individual. Perhaps the hidden messages were intentionally planted to be discovered. Perhaps the entire mystery was designed as a long-running internet puzzle. Every theory solved some questions. None solved all of them. And so the mystery endured. This is the most dramatic theory. Supporters believe Lake City Quiet Pills served as a hidden communication platform for military contractors, mercenaries, or individuals involved in dangerous assignments. The hidden messages, military language, and Dubai speculation all support this interpretation. However, no conclusive evidence has ever confirmed it. Some researchers believe LCQP was an extremely sophisticated alternate reality game, or ARG. According to this theory, Milo and others intentionally created clues across multiple websites and identities. The mystery itself was the game. The challenge is that no creator has ever stepped forward to claim responsibility. Another possibility is that one or several people simply created an elaborate deception. The internet has always attracted individuals who enjoyed manipulating narratives and watching communities investigate fictional mysteries. This theory may be less exciting, but it remains plausible. Many modern researchers favor this explanation. Perhaps Milo really existed. Perhaps he genuinely had military connections. Perhaps the website contained legitimate communications related to security work. Perhaps some details were exaggerated, misunderstood, or intentionally dramatized. In this scenario, Lake City Quiet Pills becomes neither entirely real nor entirely fictional. Instead, it becomes a mixture of reality, online storytelling, rumor, speculation, and collective imagination. More than 15 years later, no universally accepted explanation exists. The original website is gone. Most discussions now revolve around archived material and old investigations rather than new discoveries. Yet the mystery refuses to die. Not because it has been proven, but because it sits perfectly on the boundary between reality and fiction. Maybe Lake City Quiet Pills was a genuine hidden network. Maybe it was an elaborate role-playing experiment. Maybe it was a hoax. Maybe it was something in between. Or maybe the internet simply did what it has always done best. It found a collection of fragments, filled in the missing pieces, and built a haunted story out of uncertainty. And perhaps that is the true mystery of Lake City Quiet Pills. Not what it was, but why, after all these years, nobody can say for certain what it wasn't.